I would just like to note the amazing irony here. About 2,600 years ago, the Persians liberated the Jews from bondage in Babylon and supported a new beginning for the Jewish people in Jerusalem. Okay? Now, as though they are returning the favor, the Jewish state of Israel is actively supporting the liberation of the Persians from their bondage under a suppressive regime to give them a new beginning. I think this is the absolute beauty of looking at history and understanding history.
America's founders are calling. It's your opportunity to respond. This is the Liberty Brief Podcast with your host, Robert Melso, featuring Dr. Thomas Giordano. The Liberty Brief Podcast, episode 35. A new Iran is almost here. I'm your host, Robert Melso. In our previous episode, we explored the ancient Persian Empire's role in the Greco-Persian Wars and the Jewish nation's rebirth, both of which shaped our Western civilization. Today, we'll trace Iran's history from ancient rivalries to the 1979 revolution and its current geopolitical impact. I'm joined again with Dr. Tom Giordano, author of the book, Unalienable, What It Really Means and Why It Matters.
Hello again, Rob. I hope your little break down at Cape May gave you more rest than I got over here in Italy.
Well, you know, my wife keeps me pretty busy, and it was a great time. Otherwise, I'd probably just have been on the beach the whole time. But
yeah, got burned.
Yeah, I did. But that said, let's get started, Dr. Tom. The journey from ancient Persia to modern Iran is filled with pivotal moments. And for our discussion today, let's touch on the positive historical relationship between the Persians and the Jewish people. I think that's a crucial context for the conversation. Can we begin with, let's begin with the major element in Iran's identity, and that's the schism between the Sunni and the Shia Islam. Can you explain what the difference is, the beliefs, the historical conflicts are?
Yeah, okay. The Sunni-Shia divide is central to understanding the Middle East, especially Iran's role, okay? The division originated after the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 AD, centering on the rightful succession to Islamic leadership, right? Sunni Islam, the majority worldwide, believe the leader, or the caliph, should be chosen by community consensus. That started with Abu Bakr. Shias believe leadership is divinely appointed with the Prophet's immediate family, with Ali ibn Abi Talib as the rightful successor. They place spiritual authority in the imams, descendants of Ali. Sunnis emphasize community and scholarly consensus in religious authority, whereas the Shias do not.
So it's really a fundamental disagreement over leadership. How did this political disagreement evolve into distinct religious identities? And where's the animosity?
Where's the animosity? Okay. The initial disagreement led to political conflict. You know, defining event for Shia Islam was the martyrdom of Hussein ibn Ali at the Battle of Karbala in 680 AD. He became a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Over centuries, this split was reinforced by continuous political struggles, persecution, and the development of distinct doctrinal beliefs and cultural practices. Shia communities often faced discrimination as minorities under Sunni rule.
All right, how did this specifically play out with Persia?
Well, Persia, or Iran today, became contentious with the Safavid dynasty between 1501 and 1736. They established what's called Twelver Shia Islam as the state religion in the 16th century. This created a profound sectarian boundary, notably in opposition to the neighboring Sunni Ottoman Empire, setting the stage for centuries of conflict.
All right, you're going to need to explain some things here. But can you tell us what the Twelver Shia refers to for our listeners?
Sure. The Twelvers are people of Shia Islam who believe that Muhammad ibn al-Hassan, the 12th generation descendant imam from Ali, went into Gaibat, or a state of concealment by God, soon after his father's death around 874. This hidden imam is considered to still be alive and will return at God's pleasure. As the Mahdi, or the rightly guided one, his return will begin the process associated with the last days and the day of judgment in particular. By the way, in this process, Jesus will also return.
Golly, boy, they're both almost as old as Joe Biden.
Yeah, they might. They might meet each other on the way.
All right, that seems pretty.
But going in opposite directions, though.
That seems pretty specific. Yeah. I did know that Jesus was a pillar of the Islamic faith, but I didn't know that there was a similar idea to the Christian last days.
Oh, yeah. Eschatology, a great word that confuses a simple concept.
Okay, so let's get back to the discussion. Iran and the Ottoman Empire were two major powers, more or less butting up against one another. So tell us what characterized their friction? What led to Iran's later political developments?
Well, the relationship between Persia and the Ottoman Empire was marked by an intense rivalry and frequent conflicts between the 16th and the 19th centuries. And this was born from that sectarian divide, the Sunni Ottomans versus the Shia Safavid Iran, with both vying for control over strategic territories and trade routes. It was all about trade. In 1639, the two signed the Treaty of Kasir-i-Shirin, that ended over a century of open warfare and established a stable border that largely persists today. Mesopotamia, or modern Iraq, and eastern Anatolia remained under Ottoman control, while Iran retained the Caucasus regions, preserving distinct sectarian and political boundaries. So there was a geopolitical boundary set, let's put it that way.
Yeah, something that up until the recent election, we didn't believe in here in the United States. So a long period of conflict, a treaty, and a stable border. Did the rivalry end or did it just continue?
Well, treaties may end conflict for a time, but they rarely end rivalries, Rob. Intermittent wars sprouted up into the 18th and 19th centuries, involving the successors to the Safavid dynasty, the Afsharid, the Zand, and the Qajar dynasties. They sprouted up against the Ottomans. They all had conflicts. And these conflicts were driven by territorial ambitions, control over trade routes, and religious rivalry, like we said before. You know, they changed dynasties, but they still had the same beefs, let's put it that way. Both empires also experienced internal and external pressures, like European encroachment on the Ottomans and Russian expansion into the Caucasus for Iran.
Okay, well, what is the result? I mean, what would you say the result was of this constant competition?
Well, the Ottoman-Persian rivalry had profound and long-lasting consequences for the Middle East's geopolitical and sectarian landscape. It entrenched the Sunni-Shia divide. It made it more solid, influencing local politics and shaping sectarian identities in the borderlands between these places. Iran remained a rival empire with shifting borders and frequent wars. And the modern borders of Iran and Iraq can be directly traced to this era. Even with ongoing hostilities, though, there were some economic and cultural exchanges, such as the Safavid rulers promoting silk production and welcoming merchants.
All right, so we have these centuries of rivalry. So let's come closer to our times. What happened to Persia in the late 19th and the early 20th centuries?
Well, the late 19th century was a period of vulnerability for Iran under the Qajar dynasty. Iran lost the Caucasus region to Russia after the Russo-Persian wars, and internally the Qajar dynasty struggled with dissent, increasing foreign intervention from Britain and from Russia, and economic challenges. The 1891 tobacco boycott marked an early sign of public protest against foreign influence.
All right. And then what about the early 20th century leading to the new dynasty?
Well, that's you're talking about the Pahlavi dynasty. In the early 20th century, there was a lot of upheaval and reform. The Constitutional Revolution from 1905 to 1911 established a parliament, or the Majlis, right? And a constitutional monarchy, though power largely remained with the Shah and foreign interests. Then there was the discovery of oil in Iran in 1908. This event dramatically increased British involvement. Also, despite Iran's neutrality during World War I, British and Russian forces occupied the country, further weakening the Qajar dynasty.
I guess this is what we're getting to. This discontent paved the way for the Pahlavi dynasty.
Yes.
Tell us about Reza Khan's rise to power.
Well, in 1921, Reza Khan, a military officer, staged a coup, ending Qajar rule. In 1925, he crowned himself Reza Shah Pahlavi, beginning his dynasty. His reign involved really ambitious reforms: modernization and secularization, centralization of authority. He renamed Persia to Iran. All right. In 1935, Persia was officially renamed to Iran to be inclusive of its many ethnicities. The word means the land of Aryan. Okay. So he had reforms in mind.
I'm going to crown myself Robert Shah Melso. I'm going to rename myself that. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, what are you going to rename Pennsylvania?
Oh, boy. So it's only been Iran since then, since 1935.
Right, yeah. His rule was interrupted in 1941 when the Allied forces occupied Iran during the war, forcing him to abdicate in favor of his son, Mohammad Reza Shah, due to perceived pro-Axis sympathies and the need for a supply route to the Soviet Union.
So Shah Pahlavi took the throne during wartime.
And the father was forced to abdicate and the son took over. Right.
Right. How did his reign evolve concerning the West? Did he have any initiatives leading to the revolution?
Well, Mohammad Reza Shah continued his father's modernization efforts. You know, his reign was marked by a close alignment with the West, especially the United States. This intensified after the 1953 CIA and MI6-backed coup that ousted nationalist Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who sought to nationalize Iran's oil industry. His removal solidified the Shah's pro-Western stance and ensured continued U.S. support. So, you know, we were booting out some communist retrobate, but it created problems. It created problems within Iran for the Shah's regime, for the Pahlavi regime. In the 60s, the Shah launched his ambitious White Revolution. It was a series of reforms that really dealt with redistributing land, expansion of education, the promotion of women's rights, granting them voting and public office rights. With these reforms aimed to improve society, they also increased social tensions and generated significant opposition from leftist and religious groups.
Okay, what about the Shah's personal religious beliefs? Given the later religious nature of the revolution, was he considered to be a hard secularist?
Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi was a Shia Muslim by faith.
Wow.
Iran's state religion. It was, he couldn't be anything else. He publicly identified with Shia Islam and maintained traditional Islamic practices. While he promoted modernization and secular policies, he was not a hard secularist. Most of Iran's laws during his reign were still derived from Sharia, though less strictly enforced than under the later Islamic Republic. His religiosity was considered moderate, and he sought to appeal to both religious and secular segments of society. There is no credible evidence that he ever converted to Christianity, as some people say. He remained a Shia Muslim.
I remember Iran back in 1975. I was in college. I recall Iranians were a lot more westernized. The men wore slacks and shirts. No one wore a gutra. Women wore makeup. None of them wore an abaya or a hijab. With social tensions from the White Revolution and the moderate Muslim Shah, while he pushed secularizing reforms, what led to the collapse in 1979 and the takeover by radical forces?
Well, by the 1970s, there was a rapid modernization, authoritarian rule, and a political repression fueled by widespread discontent among students, intellectuals, workers, and clergy. They were Marxists, okay? Marxists and nationalists.
This sounds a bit familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were Marxist. It was a Marxist ideology. The Marxist, nationalist, and Islamist opposition groups gained momentum. Mass protests and strikes in 78 and 79 crippled the country, forcing the Shah to flee and his regime to collapse. Initially, a broad coalition of secular leftists, nationalists, and Islamists overthrew the monarchy. But then what happens?
Wait a minute. Didn't the U.S. have something to do with his overthrow? Didn't we push him out too?
No, I don't believe we pushed him out. It was within our interests to keep him there.
I thought that's why they're pissed at us even today, is that we...
No, they were probably pissed at us because of what happened before that, getting rid of Mossadegh, in the 60s. I don't think it was about this. I may be wrong.
All right.
But...
yeah, I remember reading somewhere that the U.S. was involved in coupping the Shah.
You can't believe anything written by a communist or a Marxist. They're all liars. Unless somebody from Iran who is in the know, or somebody from within our own government that says, yes, we and MI6 did
Yeah,
this.
okay. So how did Iran...
I take whatever propaganda comes out with a grain of salt. You just can't trust these people to give you the truth. All right? But we do know that in the 60s, though, the CIA was involved in getting rid of their prime minister. And that was an underhanded thing. The people of Iran should have decided, not foreign interests. But that's neither here nor there. No, there wasn't an overthrow, and the Ayatollah Khomeini was in France at the time, and the French escorted him right into the middle of this. And I remember when that happened. I saw it on TV, on the news. This guy coming out of this small village outside of Paris and going onto a plane, and everybody was, he was dressed in traditional garb, and he was on his way to Iran. Of course, we know what happened after that, right? So
Iran transitions into the Islamic Republic under the Ayatollah.
Right. Now, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini and his Shiite cleric supporters quickly consolidated power. They did the exact same thing that Lenin did. They systematically sidelined and suppressed the Marxist and secular factions that had, let's say, helped overthrow the Shah using political maneuvering and violence. So you see,
they were useful idiots, the same useful idiots that we've seen every time in Marxist regimes.
Every single time. But this time, it was a religious overthrow. On April 1st of 1979, a national referendum formally established the Islamic Republic of Iran, led by Khomeini and governed by Shiite Islamic law. The new constitution cemented clerical authority, concentrated power in a supreme leader and guardian council, embedding religious authority at the core of the state. The leftist and Marxist groups were marginalized, persecuted, and eliminated. These useful idiots set the stage, and and they were overthrown by people who were even more nefarious than they were.
So now we're into the early years of the Islamic Republic, and these guys handle internal dissent. They're not too keen on that. How is it handled?
Well, the regime's early years were defined by the U.S. Embassy hostage crisis. You remember that, 79 81 at Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, I remember it well.
The Iran-Iraq War that lasted 8 years. And these events rallied support for the new government within Iran and allowed it to suppress dissent. Immediately after the revolution, the regime suppressed secular liberals, leftists, and rival Islamic groups. Many revolutionaries opposing theocracy were imprisoned, executed, and forced into exile. There was a suppression of minorities like the Christians, the Baha'is, the Jews, the Zoroastrians. There was, repression and resistance by security forces, including the Revolutionary Guard and the Basij militia, quashing uprisings and protests. Student protests and labor strikes were met with crackdowns. Then there were student protests, like in 1999. The university students went to the streets. They wanted more freedom. Then there was the Green Movement and the protests from 2017 to 2021. It's been a continual protests against hardships and corruption and lack of political freedoms.
You got to have a lot of faith in these people. You've got to admire them. I mean, you protest, you could end up falling off a building or, being tortured or killed. I got to tip my hat to these people. You go and protest here. You're taking your life and maybe your family's life in your hands.
No question. It's, people think that they're protesting in the United States and nothing happens to them.
I didn't know there was a Jew left in Iran. I thought they had all gone or been.
In pre-1979, there were approximately 75 to 80,000 Jews in the country. Today, there's about 20 to 30,000. The Baha'is, in particular, face severe prosecution, and so do the Zoroastrians. They are.
So if I'm a Jew living in Iran, why am I staying? These people are going to eventually get around to killing me.
Well, yeah, but they keep a very, very low profile. They don't make it apparent, and I would imagine, it's not as dangerous as we maybe believe. I was listening to an Iranian exile in Great Britain. He reported that since 1979, approximately 50,000 mosques have closed in Iran for lack of attendance. This Shiite Islamist regime has driven people from the religion. They don't want anything to do with it. And I would imagine that that very fact is favorable to the 20 or 30,000 Jews that are still there. And not only that, the Iranians themselves, as we're trying to point out by this podcast episode, the Iranians have a great respect for the Jews. Historically, they've never had any beef with them at all. It's not the Iranians. It's the regime, this, Shiite Islamist regime. That is the source of the problem, not the Iranian people.
All right. Well, one thing we've learned in our podcasts that I keep remembering is the more authoritarian the rule, the more chaotic the population becomes. It's buried, but once that authoritarian rule is uncovered or collapses, it turns into a chaotic situation. And let's face it, these people have 40 years of Dark Ages rule. How do they ever get back to the modern world?
The Iranian people have proven themselves to be very resilient throughout history. We've known of their existence and their travails and their empires and their collapses for well over 3,000 years. I believe that since they've already had a taste of Western modernization up until 1979, that it will easily return once this regime collapses.
Really? After 40 years of this, you think they'll just snap back like a rubber band?
Oh, yeah. We have something that they did not have in the 70s, the internet.
Got it.
The dissemination of information worldwide was something that was not around in 1979. And, I believe that there are very intelligent people. They will snap out of this once you get rid of the yoke of this suppression. And that is coming. That is coming. And it won't be very long in the future.
Well, the trouble is this is always preceded by a lot of death and violence. That never goes easily.
That's already happened, Rob. We are coming out of that, I mean, if you look about this Operation Rising Lion that the Israelis launched against the Iranian nuclear military sites and the assassinations of their top officials like Hossein Salami in Iran, this escalation has happened to give the opportunity to the Iranian people to overthrow this horrible regime that they're living under.
Yeah, but you always have to wonder what comes next once that's done.
Well, we already know what's coming next because they're already planning it. There's a counter-revolutionary forces that are already uniting. There was a huge victory for Iranian opposition as Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, the son of the last Shah, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. He successfully united various Iranian opposition groups and ethnicities. This is a significant development that is occurring right now as we speak. Recently in Munich, Germany, they had a huge meeting where they're coming together. It's really a remarkable achievement.
But they're still going to be under an authoritarian rule. I mean, they're not going to develop a parliament.
No.
Develop a democratic.
No. That's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. For the first time, this fragmented Iranian opposition groups have unified, okay? This includes left-wing, right-wing, and non-political groups, as well as representatives from diverse ethnicities within Iran. The Kurds, the Azeris, those are Turks, Arabs, Jews, the Baluch, the Zoroastrians, and the Christians. I can't forget the Christians. This movement explicitly includes and prioritizes these diverse groups, noting Zoroastrians need massive prioritization. Freedom of religion is the key emphasis here, reflecting a past when Iran was a constitutional monarchy and had parliamentary democracy. They're not going in there necessarily to create or recreate the monarchy. What's happening is Reza Pahlavi is returning with the primary goal to serve as a figurehead for the revolution and to lead a transition government. This government would lead to a referendum where the Iranian people themselves choose their future system of governance, be it a constitutional monarchy, a parliamentary democracy, a republic, or another system. The key is the principle of unity and self-determination for the Iranian people without external imposition. We want them to decide what they want, and that's what they would insist upon, and they have the right to do it without any influence from anybody else. So that's the vision we have here.
All right, well, that's a worthwhile, maybe I guess you could say it's a powerful vision. What's the situation like inside Iran amidst these developments? Are we seeing more internal resistance right away?
We absolutely are. Inside Iran, now we've had a ceasefire, right? No one is talking about what's going on in Iran. You're never going to hear it on the Copperlight media. They're not saying anything. But inside Iran, clashes and targeted attacks against the IRGC members and government departments continue to this day. A striking development is the reported defection of over 50,000 IRGC members to the revolution. And this was verified by mainstream international media, which has established a secure communication platform, all right? Like 2CTV, for example. This indicates a significant weakening of the regime's internal control. We're also seeing increased internal sectarian clashes. For example, a Sunni group claimed responsibility for an attack in Zahedan targeting the Shia regime. the Iranian Kurds and the Baluch communities are now showing solidarity and unity against the Islamic Republic. So these people are fighting back. Also, the Mossad has its agents in there, and they are hunting people down and killing them. So yeah, it's still going on, and the pressure is mounting, and we're very close to a collapse of that regime.
How can you be sure that we're so close to a collapse? I mean, that seems like a pretty broad and a harsh statement.
Because of the way things are being run there. The Ayatollah is still in a bunker. He'll pop out for a few minutes and go right back down again. No one is in command and control of the IRGC. They know that for a fact. When one pops up, people kill him. And nobody wants to take control because they know they're the next target. So these people are scattered all over the place. The Iranians have no control of their airspace. They have no ability to launch missiles in great numbers like they did previously. You could also tell by their proxies. Their proxies are falling apart. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis.
How are they doing economically right now? We're not hearing anything on the mainstream news about them.
No. Economically, they're completely in a trap. They're still permitted to sell oil. That was a mistake that the Biden administration did. They permitted them to sell oil again. And that's what built them up so that they could attack Israel. And Israel retaliated. They're in a very precarious position. And they will not last long. Iranians, from what I've been led to understand, they are a conservative type of people. They're reticent to go out in the streets and shoot and kill people, but there are groups within that are doing just that.
All right, so there's pressure on the Islamic Republic, and that's coming from within and without with the sanctions.
Yeah.
Is there any international support for these counter-revolutionary forces?
Currently, Israel is the only state that proactively and openly supports the Iranian people in their struggle. Israel. While many in the West might see supporting the Iranian people as in their interest, direct international support from other states remains limited. The general consensus among the opposition is that the Iranian people must finish the jobs themselves, though more support would be helpful. You know what I mean? But it's interesting that only Israel is in support of the Iranian people.
Well, you know what? You get involved in this, now you're blamed by whoever takes charge if it doesn't succeed and you've got another issue.
Well, that might be the case, but the objective here would be to allow the Iranian people to decide for themselves. And right now, the only thing that we could possibly do is support the Iranian people to decide for themselves.
They're still under sanction by us, right? They can't really sell the oil that they need.
What's under sanction is the Islamic regime. That's under sanction. We don't want to see the Iranian people hurt. But we're doing this because, number one, we couldn't allow them to get the money to support their proxy wars, and they spread all over the world. I mean, even in Argentina, Jews have been targeted by let's say, by Iranian forces, secret agents. They're all over the place, even in our own country. They even supported Osama bin Laden. So the consensus is that.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that these people their eyes are so closed shut.
You mean the people supporting them?
Yeah. We have people here in the United States that are
the people that are supporting them within Iran. It's within their interests to support them, right? But the people here that are supporting them, or their proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, they're just imbeciles. They're idiots. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Or, they've been propagandized.
It's all been propagandized. They don't know what they're talking about. And if they were to ask a Persian who's living in America, in a diaspora in America or a diaspora in Great Britain, ask them what they think of what's going on in Persia. They're jumping up and down for joy that Israel is helping them. And I find it very interesting. Iran's story is a narrative of continuous struggle and adaptation. deeply rooted in a rich history, okay? The current moment with Reza Pahlavi uniting the opposition is a testament to the enduring desire for self-determination. And I would just like to note the amazing irony here. About 2,600 years ago, the Persians liberated the Jews from bondage in Babylon and supported a new beginning for the Jewish people in Jerusalem. Okay? Now, as though they are returning the favor, the Jewish state of Israel is actively supporting the liberation of the Persians from their bondage under a suppressive regime to give them a new beginning. I think this is the absolute beauty of looking at history and understanding history.
Quid pro quo, as it's called.
Exactly. Quid pro quo.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tom, for educating me and our audience. It was a great discussion. And we're going to end the podcast here, and we will see everyone next time. You've been listening to The Liberty Brief, based on the book Unalienable, What It Really Means and Why It Matters by Dr. Thomas Giordano. If you want to help spread the word, please subscribe, like, and share using the links below. You can also check out Dr. Giordano's book on Amazon using the links as well.